Testing mic 1.
Is Eric coming, do you know? I did not get a message saying that he was not. All right, I have 7 o'clock. Let's call the meeting of the Plan Commission for August 31st, 2020. Roll call, please.
President Langfeld,
Here.
Trustee Kettlewalder,
Here.
Commissioner Duquette,
Here.
Commissioner Case,
Here.
Commissioner Zander,
Here.
Trustee Thusius.
Here. All right, let's stand for the pledge of allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. All right. We'll start general business. Number 1, approval of the minutes from the Plan Commission meeting held July 6, 2020. Do I have a second? Second. All right, I have a motion and a second to approve the Plan Commission minutes from the meeting held July 6.
Actually, map floodplain is this is a common occurrence when land immediately upstream of the end of the mapping is being proposed for development. We're required to extend that officially delineated floodplain mapping to accommodate the mapping of the entire proposed development.
And obviously you can't develop it, but the flood fringe, I guess I'm just curious if that is able to be developed.
Yeah, so within the requirements or the criteria for our flood management ordinance, floodplain zoning, you are able to develop within the flood fringe if you meet floodproofing requirements or if you fill that above the elevation necessary to develop.
Thank you.
Do you know what the legal objection was?
Just that the floodplain is extended with on their property itself.
Yeah, wasn't before.
Yeah, so what you see before would have been in the light blue.
Anybody else? All right. So let's take a vote on amending the ordinance, Village of Cross Plains for the official floodplain zoning map. All in favor, say aye. Aye. All opposed, same. So moved. All right, now we're on number 4. So we have a public hearing for amendments to Chapter 84 of the Village Municipal Code zoning. Do we have to have a separate public hearing for each one of these?
You,
Can we just have one for all of them?
you can technically you should open and close each of them.
All right. Let's have, do I have a motion to have, open up a public hearing for section 84.101 sub K and sub L regarding easement conditions and as-built plans?
I'll motion it.
All right, do I have a second?
Second.
I have a motion and a second to open up the public hearing on section 84.01 sub K, sub L regarding easement conditions and as-built in plans. Any discussion? All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
All opposed, same. We are open for a public hearing. Are there anybody that would like to speak to this issue?
Is there anyone on the virtual meeting or by calling in that would like to speak as to the zoning code change for easement conditions and as-built plans?
None here, but just an FYI, you got a major rain going on, and you guys cut out every once in a while, but no other comment here.
Okay, can you hear us better now?
You cut it out there for a short period, but it has come back.
Okay, we're gonna continue to try to push forward here, and I know that we're having issues with our internet.
Okay, do I have a motion?
Very good. Just wanted to give you an FYI.
Thank you.
Do I have a motion to close the public hearing on regarding easement conditions and as-built plans? Do I have a second?
Second.
All right. Any discussion? All in favor, say aye. Aye. All opposed, same. Okay, the public hearing is closed. Do I have a motion to open up a public hearing for section 84.161 regarding conditional use permit procedure?
Motion to open up the public hearing?
Do I have a second?
Yes.
All right, I have a motion and a second to open up the public hearing for 84.164 regarding conditional use permit procedures. Any discussion? All in favor, say aye. Aye. All opposed, same. Moved. We are an open public hearing on it.
So I'll give a presentation
Okay.
on this one also. So this is an amendment to the zoning ordinance in regards to the conditional use permit procedures to be compliant with current state statute, particularly in regards to evidence, substantial evidence, as they call it, and then in particular about the hearing process for conditional use permits. This arose from a lawsuit, I believe, in Trumbull County in regards to sand mining. Then legislature took action on that, and so currently our code is non-compliant with that, and so this would bring us into compliance.
All right, thank you. Are there any speakers?
Is there anyone else on the virtual meeting that would like to speak on behalf or in regards to the conditional use permit procedures? Going once? Twice? Third time?
All right, do I have a motion to close the public hearing regarding conditional use permit procedures? So. We have a motion and a second. Thank you. Any discussion? All in favor, say aye. Aye. All opposed, same. All right, we're make a motion. I need a motion for a public hearing on sections of Chapter 84 regarding small solar energy systems. I have a motion. Do I have a second? Second. I have a motion and a second to open up a public hearing on Chapter 84 regarding small solar energy systems. Is there any discussion? All in favor, say aye. Aye. All opposed, same.
So this ordinance amends the zoning code to allow small solar energy systems, otherwise residential solar systems, energy systems, through a streamlined permitting process and as an accessory use. Currently, the ordinance has applications go through a conditional use permit. This was recommended by the Sustainability Committee, and I believe was discussed both in Plan Commission and also the Village Board previously.
All right, are there any comments?
Do we have any comments from the field in regards to the zoning changes for small solar energy systems? Going once, twice, third time?
All right, do I have a motion to close the public hearing on Chapter 84 regarding small solar energy systems? Do I have a second?
No second.
All right, I have a motion and a second to close the public hearing regarding small solar energy system. Any discussion? All in favor, say aye. Aye. All opposed, say carried. All right. Number 5, discussion and possible action regarding an ordinance to repeal and recreate section 84.101 sub K sub L of the Village Code of Ordinance regarding easement conditions and as-built plans. Do I have a motion? So moved. Do I have a second? Second. All right, I have a motion and a second regarding the repeal and recreate section 84.01 1 sub K sub L of the Village Code of Ordinance regarding easement condition and as-built plans. Any discussion?
Bill, does this work for you? It's, most of the implementation of these technical requirements has been across your desk. It's not
Yeah, so
work
this,
for me, but it's worked for you. Does it
yeah,
work for you?
so these were actually our requests from Jerry Gray, our Public Facilities Director, and Brian Bergquist, our village engineer, as we currently require these items on plots. So in discussion of that, it made sense to go ahead and bring it into the zoning code as you see here. And then also there is a sister amendment here to the subdivision ordinance, and you'll see that in the next item.
All right, any other discussion? All right, all in favor, say aye. Aye. All opposed, same. So moved. All right, Number 6, discussion and possible action regarding an ordinance to amend section 83.85 sub B sub C and create section 83.105 sub C of the village code of ordinance regarding easement and as-built plans. Do I have a motion?
No motion.
Do I have a second?
Second.
Okay, I have a motion and a second. Discussion? Kevin?
Just have a question. This particular section was not mentioned in the public hearing?
Yeah, so this one does not require, so it's section 83, which is the subdivision ordinance, does not require a public hearing. So everything under chapter 84 requires a public hearing.
Thank you for the clarification.
Any other questions, comments?
This work for you, Bill?
Again, these are things that we already require as part of the plotting process. This solidifies it into code and requires it not only of larger subdivisions, but also land divisions by certified surveying. So it makes it equal across the board. And again, it was recommended by our public facilities and our engineer.
All right, all in favor, say aye. Aye. All opposed, same. So moved. Number 7, discussion and possible action regarding an ordinance to repeal and create section 84.161 of the Village Code of Ordinance regarding conditional use permit procedure. Do we have a motion? Do we have a second?
Second.
I have a motion and a second to repeal and create section 84.161 of the Village Code of Ordinance regarding conditional use permit and procedure. Any discussion? All right, all in favor say aye. Aye. All opposed, same. Number 8, discussion and possible action regarding an ordinance to repeal and recreate certain sections of Chapter 84 regarding small solar energy systems. Do I have a motion? I have a motion. Do I have a second? All right, I have a motion and a second to repeal and create certain sections of Chapter 84 regarding small solar energy systems. Any discussion?
Are we limiting them to be roof mounted, or can they potentially be put in the garage, on ground?
So the ordinance does allow for both roof mounted and ground mounted systems, as long as they meet the requirement for setback, height. I think the ordinance talks about screening, and there's a list of other items within the specific district that they'd be in. And so again, I just want to make sure that that you understand this is for small solar energy systems. This is different from large energy systems, which would be your solar farms.
What's the cutoff between a small and a large?
I believe it goes.
I think it has to be a residential lot.
Residential lot, and also, I want to say they talked about the wattage in it too.
In the wattage, yeah. So a commercial lot, smaller than a residential lot.
Or whether,
Fall under the small.
and whether it's a primary use. So if they're making energy from themselves versus making commercial energy and selling it.
Decrease the amount of consumption used
Correct.
by the commercial building.
Correct. Yeah.
Not to produce solar and feed it back into the grid. I'm just talking.
No, I hear what you're saying, but for some reason, I thought this was tied to residential. But I could be wrong. I think there's probably different sections of the state code that deal with a commercial use.
I can pull up the code here in just a minute.
Yeah, it was a lot more complicated than I thought it was going to be. That state law is pretty lengthy.
exempt, or this amendment would exempt screening requirements for solar energy as a 367. Just built it on the required screening.
For the ground one, it,
Yeah, correct.
okay.
The reason being, you can't.
Right.
screen solar.
Okay, right here, it says front ground,
Yeah,
oh,
so-
that's ground mounted prohibited.
Yeah, so a large energy system that converts solar energy is usable thermal, mechanical, chemical, or electrical energy, where the solar energy system is typically a principal use of the land and designed primarily to generate energy for commercial sale offsite.
So then, to answer his question, if he wanted to put solar on his roof, he could, under this ordinance.
At my business, which.
Yeah, that's what I
To
meant.
use it for your
Kilowatt hour
business,
usage at my business is half of what it is at my condo.
Right.
So
Right.
it's not a smaller version, but it's still a small system.
Right,
Yes.
okay. Any other discussion?
Now, is this specifically for creating energy as an electricity, or can these go into hot water systems to heat hot water?
No, I would assume it would be anything solar.
Well, we don't want to assume anything,
But.
because I mean, right now, people have a hot water system.
Right, no, I hear what you're saying, no, yeah. I don't know if it breaks it down to that, I don't remember that at all.
Yeah, it talks, I believe it talks in particular to solar energy.
Bill, I believe both would be allowed.
Both would be allowed. Okay, thank you.
Thanks for clearing that up, Mike.
Any other questions or discussion? All right, all in favor, say aye. Aye. All opposed, same. Carries. All right, number 9, discussion and possible action regarding an ordinance to amend section 83.29 of the Village Code of Ordinance regarding extraterritorial plot approval jurisdiction. Sorry about that.
So this is an amendment to our extraterritorial jurisdiction, including or adding the use or the allowed use of an official map as that tool. At the last meeting, the Plan Commission meeting, we took a look at a preliminary draft that was put together in 2009, and at that time thought that it would make sense to move ahead with that. So this does bring us up to current statute in regards to how villages and cities and municipalities can use their ETJ powers.
Do I have a motion?
I'll move to approve this.
Do I have a second?
Second.
I have a motion and a second. Discussion.
Hey, Mike Slavny, is there anything that you want to add on this?
I thought you did a fine job, Bill.
Thank you.
All right. Anything else? Otherwise, all in favor, say aye. Aye. All opposed, same. So moved. Number 10, discussion and possible action regarding Scenic Valley. We will do these one at a time. A variance request from section 83.104 to extend the construction schedule in 2020. I think they modified this to the, yeah.
So the most recent request and the most recent request is through November 15th, 2020.
Okay.
And, they're, in regards to the delay, they're citing a couple of items, particularly the pandemic at the beginning of the year, and the unknowing of kind of what's going to happen with the economy. And then secondly, there was a delay in obtaining what the village required in bonding, construction bonding. And so, in talking about the extension, the current extension does, their current deadline does go to September 15th, which is in ordinance, our subdivision ordinance. You can see that if the Plan Commission does recommend extension of this to whichever date beyond September 15th, the final approval of the variance would have to go to the village board. The next village board meeting is September 28th, I believe. So if it does pass, there would have to be a convening of the village board before September 15th. We have Adam Ryan here, and he's the engineer on the Scenic Valley. We also have Jerry Gray, our Public Facilities Director, with us, if there are any questions.
All right, I'd like to have the discussion first on this so we don't have to do multiple amendments. So they're requesting it to go through November. I personally would be willing to go to September 30th, but not beyond that. So what are other people feeling?
I just want a clarification, the big reason for September 15th, right, is so they can get the grass planted for erosion control
Yes.
by the end of the season, right?
Yep.
If I could, this is Adam Ryan with Storm Engineering. If I could add something, I spoke to Mike Mull, who's doing the large land disturbance activities out on the site today, and he's confident that he can have the overall large-scale land disturbance activities complete by the end of the September. What we would be asking for beyond that would primarily be activities within the street right-of-ways to complete grading for the streets, putting down aggregate and asphalt, which would not require the vegetative restoration because obviously at that point those areas would be restored, and non-erosion because they would be asphalt at that point. So I don't believe that we would need to go all the way to November 15th. And I think we could get, because all the sanitary sewers and water main will be in before the end of the month. So it would just be going beyond September 30th. It would be primarily paving in the streets and then a small amount of storm sewer.
How much time do you need for that?
Adam, did you catch that?
No, I did not.
Commissioner Case had asked how much time you would need for the asphalt and the storm sewer.
It really depends on the subcontractor schedules. We would love to get 3 weeks in October, if that's at all possible.
Well, I guess to answer, if it's a guarantee that all that work that needs seeding would be done by September 30th, but then that's the end line. It has to be done by, that has to be done by the 30th. I don't mind if there's extra work, but I get a little nervous when you say, mostly instead of, we would need absolute assurance that there would be no area being disturbed after the 30th that would need to be seeded. I'm okay with extending it as long as that's the agreement that September 30th, everything gets seeded that needs to get seeded, and all other work has to be done between the curb lines.
I think that that's a reasonable request. I think that's something that we could work with.
What do other people feel?
I'm in agreement with that.
I'm in agreement with that, but can we set it to October 30th? I don't think they need to go into November. If he's talking 3 weeks into October, they would be done. I mean, going into November, that's when there's a potential we could get snow. They're predicting a heavy winter this year.
I'm okay with that. Kevin, did you have anything?
I think I favor about October 15th. The season really seems to change after that. I guess what I don't know is, whether that's enough time to grow a cover crop.
Well, no. Oh, you're saying to let them have until the 15th even to do the seeding part?
I probably would let them go that far.
I think you're really taking a chance on that. While September is generally a good month to get seed down, because you have October for it to grow, and you get enough warm, but it's not like, if you remember last year, how cold Halloween was, and even prior to Halloween,
And I know.
it can get cold and you're not gonna get grass to grow. I would get nervous going past September 30th. I think our September 15th is almost like a guarantee type thing. I think it would be pretty hard pressed to have a year that you couldn't get grass growing starting September 15th. But I think most of us that spend time outdoors, grass does grow through October, and I'd be comfortable with that, but I don't want to go any farther. That's me. I don't want to go any farther than September 30th. I can go to end of October for the streets, but then again, I think when we have a sewer break in the middle of winter, they're digging it up and fixing it,
They're not paving.
No, that's true. They're not paving.
It's the paving part.
Yeah, okay. Yeah, that's a good point.
Jerry, I see that you're on the meeting with us. Do you have any comments?
The way the project has gone to date, I think Adam is pretty realistic with his projections on a timeline. They do have all of the ponds in place. The site is completely self-contained at this point. So I would be willing to go with what Jay was referring to, end of September for seeding of the mass disturbed areas, and then end of October for working within the street right-of-ways.
Yeah, just for some clarification, all the bullet points that the staff recommendations would be specifically to the heavily disturbed areas, and then there'd be the parts about the street, the hardscape areas would be separate. Is that what I'm reading here? Is that what I'm understanding? Because there's a whole bunch of things in here like on or before that date, they'll be seeded, and then inspections will be done, snow covered, restoration of work, etc. All those would apply to the heavily disturbed areas.
Staff would recommend that those points be included.
I guess okay, good. What I'm saying then is that I'm in favor of what Jay proposed as well, provided these other points are in there.
Yeah, that stuff is still going to all be in place.
So let me just recap so we're all on the same. So we're looking at extending the work in the areas that need to be seeded to September 30th. All other work can continue until the end of October 31st, and then it should end.
Only if it has been seeded.
Well, that's an automatic. It has to be seeded by the 30th.
Yeah.
But what I'm saying is then we're allowing street work to continue until October 31st. I just want to make sure we're all talking, and including these bullet points that Kevin mentioned.
Yeah, I think that's fair.
Okay.
That's fine. That's fine.
All right. Do I have a motion for that?
I'll make the motion.
Okay. Do I have
I'll say.
you want to say the motion?
Yeah, let's hear the motion here.
I'll make the motion that the seeding of the mass disturbed areas must be completed by September 30th. And the hardscape of the roads can continue until October 31st. And it must also include the current recommendations and bullet point from staff.
Very good. Do I have a
Second.
All right, I have a motion and a second. Any other discussion? All right, all in favor, say,
Actually, we should get a roll call vote.
Okay, thank you. Roll call vote, please.
Trustee Kettlebolder,
Yes.
Commissioner Duquette,
Yes.
Commissioner Case,
Yes.
Commissioner Zander,
Yes.
Trustee Lucius,
Yes.
Yes.
President Langfeld.
Yes. Motion carries. All right, go to number B. A variance request from section 83.18 to waive the requirement limiting hillside and hilltop development.
So what I like to do is the rest of these variances, including the certified survey map, all relate to the land division for lot 45. And so I like to provide the presentation. We have Ed Lawton, who represents Scenic Valley and had drafted that memo that you saw in the packet. Have that discussion before there are any votes.
Okay.
So you see on the board there, or on the screen, this whole area in the original proposal or the original final plot is lot 45, or was proposed as lot 45. Within it were a series of proposed a series of easements to come through outlot, what's represented as outlot 10. Let me get the spotlight here. So outlot 10 here and through this section, those easements included things like Wingra, Verizon Communications, I believe there was an MG&E, and a US Cellular. Those, I believe those easements run approximately here from the plot, and so a part of the development agreement was to relocate all those easements through this one section. With that being said, Wingra had interest in keeping access or keeping frontage to a public street, and so it was then proposed to further divide lot 45, as you see here, which would create a number of issues with our subdivision ordinance, primarily first of all the variances that were granted by the Plan Commission, recommended by the Plan Commission and granted by the Village Board at the beginning of this would need to be reaffirmed or reapproved for this proposal, as Outlot 10 is being proposed to be owned by Wingra, and Lot 45A and 45B would then be privately owned. In addition to that, other variances that would be needed would be the minimum public road frontage. Our current subdivision ordinance requires at least 50 feet of public road frontage and also public access. And so as proposed, with this being owned by Wingra, these two lots, 45A and 45B, would not have that. Now, to resolve several of those issues, we are currently negotiating a handful of agreements with Wingra and also the developer to figure out how all of this would work. And so if the staff is recommending here that, if you do recommend variances to the village board, that it be conditioned on getting those agreements worked out.
And can I just,
Go ahead.
a number of these variances have already gone through the board when lot 45 was one lot. It's because they're divided into two that we have to redo it. Is that correct?
It's because they're divided into three,
Okay.
and then you have separate owners now. Ed, I see that you're on here, Mike Slavny and Jerry Gray. Is there anything else that you want to add before the discussion?
Sure. This is Ed Lawton. If you don't mind, if I just jump in, I think the other point I would just make is that, in terms of kind of the on the ground reality, this is sort of consistent with what has already or always been contemplated. It's just the legal form of the ownership of the access route that goes through lot 45 is going to be structured, or is proposed to be structured as this outlot 10. But the overall use of the site is still planned to be the same thing.
Okay, thank you, Ed. Jerry or Mike? Okay.
All right, Judy?
And this is where they want to do the storage units, correct?
Correct.
So is that still, they still want to, if Windsor
Yeah,
owns it,
so-
will they still want to do that?
Correct. So what's in 45A and 45B would still require a conditional use permit as proposed in the original development agreement. Outlot 10 would be restricted to access only for those lots in Wingra, and so it would not require a conditional use permit.
Any other questions on, I guess, pretty much most of these that are on here?
Does changing this agreement at all affect longevity of the use of this outlot as the main road for gravel extraction? Has it always been permanent?
So I don't know what the agreement is now in regards to their easement to the mining facility. They proposed this, so I would imagine that this would favor their long-term operation.
But yeah, that was the original plan to go through. What Winger is trying to do is make it more legal, so down the road someone can't shut them off from using this. But it was always the plan for them to bring the gravel out this way.
On the additional 120 acres they own to the south?
From there, yes, from their active site.
Correct.
That was always been the plan. Because their current route is part of the development.
You're saying there's a much larger area that potentially...
I'm saying that they own an additional 120 acres south of this parcel. That they could continue extraction of those 120 acres for however long. That's what I'm saying.
Yes, and I think that's very true. I mean, I think the flavor I got, this was going to be used for at least 10 or more years.
Yeah, the original developer agreement that the village signed with Horizon had Winger relocating the easement from over here to this route here.
Okay.
So what they're proposing here with Winger becoming owner of Outlot 10 would secure that, that doesn't change on them in the future.
Bill, correct me if I'm wrong, but at what point do we touch on the maintenance agreement? Is that going to be in this section, or are we dealing with that in a different spot?
So I believe that would be, we can touch on it here, but that's a discussion and action for the village board to take, as we're still currently negotiating that. At this point, it would be a recommendation from the plan commission to the village board, with the board making the final decision.
Yeah, I think that's one of the agreements we're still working on.
So just
we shouldn't mix it in with this.
Yeah, so just quickly reference, the agreements that we are working on or that have been forwarded to us include an amendment to the developer's agreement for this setup, and to remove the conditional use permit requirement for Outlot 10. We're also reviewing the amendment to the restrictive covenants, which would limit Outlot 10 then to access only. We are also reviewing the access agreement between lots 45A, 45B, and Wingra, That does not include the village, but the village does still maintain an easement through outlot 10 to get to outlots 7 and 6. And then lastly, we do have or are working on a maintenance agreement with Winga for maintenance of the private section of this road and the public section of the road. Again, we're currently negotiating that, and I think that would be a more proper setting for the village board. Jerry, does that answer your question?
Yeah, yeah. It's not for this section, and we're going to deal with it. So, yeah, I'm good. I just didn't want it getting accidentally lost.
I think the horse is out of the barn, Kevin, on whether there's going to be continuing, mineral extraction here. I think there is going to be. That's been a reservation of mine for some time now, but it's, well, we've moved ahead, and it's, I guess that's the way it's going to be.
But I think the reason this road is being moved is because their current road was going right down the middle of development.
Right.
And we didn't want, I don't think anybody wanted dump trucks going down the middle of residential. So this was changed, just like changing all those other services, the easement for MG&E, AT&T, all of that has to be moved so it's not in that residential.
Well, I think this is a better arrangement for the road, but it, of course, does continue with the presumption that there's going to be mining and extraction into the indefinite future to the south of the subdivision. So, I think we've made the owners aware, though, that's on the plat.
Well, we definitely, yes. And I'm hoping when they sell the lots that everybody is aware of that, because, but then again, people on Guild Way have lived with it for how many years? Forever, since they, were building, so.
Is there a road up there from Guild Way?
No, just that you can hear it.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, no, there's no traffic coming through, but I guess what I'm saying is there's always been an active mining operation.
Oh, yeah.
I can feel it on Ludden Drive. It doesn't happen often, but every now and then.
Yeah, that's what they were saying.
Yeah. What was that earthquake?
Yeah, like a little earthquake, yeah. That's what the neighbor said when we met. Because I was curious, because I've never heard it, but
you can feel it as much as you can hear it.
Yeah. All right, any other questions on this, or can we kind of move forward with all these? Now you kind of have the big picture of these, and these are just obviously smaller pieces of that big picture.
The only thing I would add to what the list that Bill had is I do think that it's worth having some landscaping along that part of Outlot 10, which is adjacent to the residential lots there. I don't have a specific idea, but maybe some kind of landscaping requirement through the residential part of that subdivision. That was I think it was a suggestion somewhere in something I read here, but I don't.
But there's only one lot that would butt up to Outlot 10 besides our two lots. Once you get to public, then there's a couple more.
And that's a steep cut. There's already terracing required for that area, and rock terraces, because it's really steep across the. Yeah. That's one of the variance requests, actually.
Yeah, it was, but now that it went private, we didn't have to, but yeah, great. All right, well, let's go back to B then. It's a request for a variance of section 83.18 to waive the requirements limiting hillside and hilltop development. And that's because of the 45 A and B. Do I have a motion? All right, do I have a second?
I'll second.
I have a motion in the second. for a variance for section 83.8, waiver the requirement limiting hillside and hilltop development. Any discussion?
I only want to add to the minutes that I'm going to vote in favor of this waiver, but it's because the use up there is not going to be residential up on top. Otherwise, I would not favor this kind of variance.
Okay. So let's do a roll call vote.
All right, Commissioner Duquette,
Yes.
Commissioner Case,
Yes.
Commissioner Sander,
Yes.
Trustee Lucius,
Yes.
Trustee Kettleboard,
Yes.
President Langfeld.
Yes. So moved. C, variance request from section 83.76 to waive the requirement for lots 45A and 45B to have access to a public street.
So moved.
Do I have a second?
I'll second.
Again, I have a motion and a second. It can be either Cliff. Any discussion?
I just want to say that these variances that are reflective of the original approvals will have the same language from those approvals. So I believe that original motion in regards to the public, the public street, and you'll see for the sidewalk and pedestrian ways, there were additional requirements for that as far as green space and whatnot. So I do have those minutes pulled up if you'd like to review those.
All right. Any other discussion?
You're saying those same conditions will be attached to this vote?
For the variances that were approved
Okay.
previously by the planning commission and the
Okay.
village board, so that so what you'd be doing would be reconfirming those variances
Okay.
for these owners. And again, I have those pulled up if you'd like to look at them.
Well, that's all right.
Do a roll call vote, please.
Commissioner Case,
Yes.
Commissioner Zander,
Yes.
Trustee Lucius,
Yes.
Trustee Kettleboulder,
Yes.
Commissioner Duquette,
Yes.
President Langfeld.
Yes. All right. D, variance request from section 83.83 sub E to waive the requirement for lots 45A and 45B to have a front or abut a public street for a distance of at least 50 feet. Do I have a motion?
I'll motion.
All right, do I have a second?
I'll second it.
All right, thank you. I have a motion and a second. Discussion?
Just to ensure that if this is passed, it includes the provision put in by staff, right?
Which, it's,
Oh, I'm sorry, we're not on that one yet, sorry. They're not labeled on here, my bad, wrong one.
okay. But it will have everything that well, I guess we didn't really have this.
No, this
before.
is C,
This
this
is
is
the-
not lettered on the memo.
Yeah, gotcha. All right, roll call vote, please.
Commissioner Zander,
Yes.
Trustee Lucius,
Yes.
Trustee Kettleboulder,
Yes.
Commissioner Duquette,
Yes.
Commissioner Case,
Yes.
President Langfeld.
Yes. E, a variance from section 83.98 to waive the requirement of pedestrian ways. We have a motion. I'll make the motion. Do I have a second?
I'll second.
All right, we'll have discussion.
Do we even have to do a waiver if it's a private street now?
Well, we did require them, if I remember correctly, to have a sidewalk on at least one of them.
Yeah, I can
Because it's
pull.
private, but it's also kind of one of these private but open to the public, is people have to have access.
See, I don't remember a sidewalk going all the way up. I remember because it's so steep, I didn't think we added
We
a
did have a
sidewalk.
I thought we had
No,
a
the-
sidewalk on one side.
The sidewalk is on one side of the public section, but not on the private section.
Oh, okay.
However, there are some requirements, and as far as greenway space to be able to plow.
Okay,
Yeah, because I thought it was just too steep to put a sidewalk in.
okay, I percent.
It was gonna be more hill cut if we did put sidewalk.
Okay. All right, any other discussion? Roll call vote, please.
Trustee Lucius,
Yes.
Trustee Kettleboard,
Yes.
Commissioner Duquette,
Yes.
Commissioner Case,
Yes.
Commissioner Zander,
Yes.
President Langfeld.
Yes. Number F, recommendation of the proposed certified survey map for lot 45A, 45B, and out lot 10. I have a motion, do I have a second?
I'll second it.
All right, discussion.
Well, this is where we wanted to introduce the agreements that are being worked out with Wingra and the developer. Am I right on that, Bill?
Yeah, so this be conditioned on us, on the village, getting to agreement with, the developer and Wingo on this. So, you know, when, at the time that it is put on the village board agenda, that we would have a smooth transition there.
All right, do I have a motion?
So moved.
Think,
Yeah,
Cliff-
oh,
Cliff already.
oh, I'm sorry.
Oh, yeah.
All right,
Oh, I have Kevin Schmieder, right?
so I just want to make sure that your motion includes that it's contingent with us getting agreements on those other items.
Correct.
Okay. Just so everybody understands that. All right, any other discussion? Roll call vote, please.
Trustee Kettleboard,
Yes.
Commissioner Duquette,
Yes.
Commissioner Case,
Yes.
Commissioner Zander,
Yes.
Trustee Lucius,
No.
and President Langfeld.
Yes.
So that motion fails.
Does that require
It requires a supermajority to approve it.
for the,
Of the whole planning commission, so it requires at least 6.
for the certified survey map?
Oh, because there's no.
Oh, no, excuse me, I'm wrong on that. No, the certified survey map, it does not require.
We're all just booted off. For no reason.
Okay, this is Bill Chang, we're back. We just, again, lost internet, but I wanted to, I think where we were discussing item 10F and recommendation and approval of the full certified survey map. There was a vote on that, 5-1 with trustee Lucius voting no. And so I wanted to correct myself, that motion does carry as it is not a variance and does not require a supermajority.
All right, let's move to number 11, discussion and possible action regarding the extraterritorial plot review for lands owned by Gary Brenner. Do I have a motion?
So moved.
All right, discussion.
When reading it, we gave back or conceded land to the town.
Yeah, the very first time, yep.
Okay, I'm assuming that was obviously through the board.
Yep, so that's where we are, so now we gotta go and
Okay,
do the
Yeah.
division of.
all right.
So-
And then there's a footnote that I didn't read because my battery went dead and I haven't had a chance to go back and look at about lot 13 having access to, so I said something on page 2, looking for lot 13 had access to outlot 4, I'm going to call it. I think it was.
Green?
through coming off of, is it Continental? Or not Continental? What's that street? Hillenbrand?
Hillenbrand, yeah.
Hillenbrand Drive?
What page did you say that was on?
I don't remember. I
I saw that too.
I can't get on there to verify it.
I thought it was on one of the drawings too, they showed it.
Yeah, and it had hash marks through that particular lot, so I don't know if,
That's the lot that he currently owns.
Yeah, 13, look at page PDF 56.
Okay.
Says C note on sheet 4 for,
So 13 votes. Because he owns 13 already.
who does?
I bet James probably.
Yeah.
Oh.
he owns 13 already, so
Oh.
so I'm wondering if he's planning on eventually, if he develops that, putting in a driveway?
Through his lot? Is there a house on that now?
Yeah.
Well, then he wouldn't be able.
Oh, is there a house on it?
No, I don't believe that there's a house on
Oh,
it.
no,
I think
that
that's
is
an empty
lot.
one right next to
Yeah,
him.
you're right.
I can tell you.
Yeah, so the note says up here, lot 13 of Glacial Valley is reserved for future road right of way if lot 4 of CSM is
And
developed.
he is on if he wants to talk. I see he's on.
Yeah, I see that he's on, and I think, we do have, again, standard language in our restricted covenants in regards to a thoroughfare and a, public road going through a residential lot. So that's something that we do have to discuss, but it looks like it's just a disclosure note on the certified survey map.
But it wouldn't be a public road if they sold that lot as one. It would just become a driveway at that point, correct? And would we allow a driveway to run through our lot to get to
Yeah,
a township lot?
I'd have to double check on that. Mike Slavny, can you comment on that? If a future owner wanted to build a lot in the township or town lands, but wanted to put a drive-through through that lot?
Well, I've seen it done before, and the permission to do that would occur when the plat for lot 13 was created.
They said for a road, didn't you just read that? Didn't someone read that? That a road can go through there?
That's what I thought you read that on that note.
Yeah.
Yeah, but the certified survey map is for the lots in the township, not in the village.
Correct.
Oh, yeah, I know this. We're just asking.
So this note is an advisory note. Nothing on this certified survey map creates that right on lot 13.
Okay.
And we did speak to James about future development, and it's my understanding that there is no intention for that. And James, you can definitely speak for yourself here if you want to unmute yourself.
Yeah, we were just going with what already was existing here, guys, and right now it's all staying all exactly the same. There's not any real intentions here, other than while we're going through this, it made sense to bring this option possible. I own the lot there on number 13, and it gets you to lot 4, which made some sense. So that's what we're going with right now, guys.
So I think what this does is it reserves it for lot 4, but in regards to lot 13, he's got some work to do there in the village.
Let me just ask, why is there a lot 3 and a lot 4? It looks like there's intended to be 2 lots up there?
Yes. So this is a certified survey map for 4 different lots. Lot 1 on the east of P,
The homestead.
homes in the homestead.
Right, I
And
understand
then-
what 1 and 2 is, but why are 3 and 4 not just one lot?
I would imagine it has to do with town zoning.
That is correct. It's following existing zoning, guys, but with a change to the village side.
It's not an intention that there be 2 homes up there.
So here's the zoning.
You don't have your mic on, so you probably can't hear.
Oops. It's not an intention that there be two homes up there.
No, there's not any tension there, and that is correct. But it is to go with how the current zoning is just changing to new zoning, but coming to the village. I shouldn't say coming to the village, but it's just converting what it was without changing all the lines or resurveying all the lines, guys. It's all going to be used for ag. It has some rights to do urban sprawl, but I mean, again, it's really was just to keep everything zoned the same way. I understand it's not the same way exactly, but that was the idea as far as how they're laid into here.
And there's also no intention to have access to Bourbon Road from the north of lot 3 or 4. I don't see that.
Yeah, that would be like, yeah, that's very steep coming through here.
There's no way they could.
Well,
Yeah, that's not accessible.
It is too steep, and it's not accessible, but it looks like it's laid out as a road.
And I believe the reason that was because of a town requirement that lot not be landlocked.
Oh,
Correct.
oh, I see.
All right, Kevin?
Bill or Mike, you know that the village owns lands OL1 there on the northwest side of lot 4 with no real access to that property for maintenance. Have we worked with Mr. Tartung or anybody else to see if there's a way to get access during this process?
Yes, we have. We've actually are negotiating that agreement now with access to follow. So currently we do follow. There's a gravel road that comes through this property, and we have a handshake deal to access the outlot 1. We also access the conservancy lands to the south here to that lot, and so we do have a draft agreement out there to Gary Brunner and his wife for review, and we would bring that then to the village board when the final approval of the CSM is on the agenda.
All right, any other discussion? All right, let's do a roll call vote.
Okay. Trustee Kettleboulder.
Yes.
What are we voting on?
Oh, we didn't do a motion?
Yeah.
There was
me and
a
Cliff.
motion. Yep.
Yeah,
Yeah, me and Cliff.
To accept it.
to accept we're doing the motion to accept the extra territorial plat review of lands owned by Gary Brunner. And that's the certified
Survey map.
survey map that we have. That's what we're voting on.
What about this agreement for accessing the village conservancy land that we're currently using?
Yep. So we don't have a final draft of that agreement yet, and that's why it's not here before you. If the commission would like to condition the approval on that, you can do so. I just want to remind everyone that this is an extraterritorial jurisdiction review. So again, we are working on that agreement, and I have full faith that will get done.
Because this is all town land now.
Correct.
So we really have
It's
no.
all town land that,
In regards to that easement, guys, if you look at the current map right now, if you just highlight coming off of P, there we go. Yep, know where you were. You might zoom it a little, I suppose. But yeah, coming in through there, the current easement that's written up, and there's just some fine tuning going on, and you could follow that around for them. There you go. And then it comes up around. And right now the easement is coming to here as defined, but we have to finish the definition, because if you go further up, where you want to get to obviously is further up. Well, it would have to be on a different map, but it's on the back side of the plot you're saying. Is it? Yeah, thank you. You'll find it. So as far as continuing that easement through lot 3, guys, and coming over the top, and then obviously just cross over 4 to get into the back side of there, does that work for you? And how we draft that up?
Yeah, yeah, James. So we took a look at it, and I think we're for the most part happy with it. There's a small section that goes across lot 2, which is Gary, and we cut across here. So
Yep.
I've talked to Gary about that, and we just need to add the legal description for that, and then we're good.
Very good. Is there any, so if you followed that around, there was some discussion that you would need access to the back side of, yeah, there you go. Yep, just keep on, yeah. And I believe we were currently defined as you just entered lot 3, and I believe somebody asked about, can we cross 4 again? But I mean, that we came, you touched 4 earlier. We certainly would want to lay it out how you guys want to see it done. So we can follow up with our next draft of that, and I believe we'll cover any of the questions that I saw that were withstanding, and again, access to the trail, and get that defined well too for you.
Yeah, James has been very good to work with, so I fully think that we're gonna be able to reach an agreement on this.
Very good, thank you.
I would typically condition my vote on this as to having an agreement for access to the village lands. Then I don't have an objection.
Okay.
But
there should not be any challenge on having a real clear easement on getting to the 2 locations you want to get to there at all.
Okay, thank you.
So we have a motion and a second, and we actually started the roll call. Do we just want to finish the roll call vote and go from there?
Yep.
Okay, so Commissioner DeQuick. And the motion was to approve the extraterritorial plot review for lands owned by Gary Brunner.
Yes.
Commissioner Case.
the motion does not include accessing the village's lands.
Correct.
That is correct.
I'm going to vote no.
Commissioner Zander.
Yes.
Trustee Thusius.
Yes.
President Langfeld.
Yes.
Motion carries.
Alrighty. Do I have a motion for adjournment?
I'll make that motion.
Do I have a second? All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
All opposed, same. Thank you very much.
Thank you, everyone. Thank you for being patient with the internet. If you have any questions about the meeting, please feel free to contact me, and then we can go from there. Have a good night.
Bill.
Thanks a lot, guys. Have a good night.
Thank you.
Bill, just remind me when our next meeting date is.